Okay, item 4 is public session. Be it resolved that the board reconvenes public session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We're now in public session. Item 5, there is no student presentation. Item 6, student representatives report. There is no student representative report, which leads to the president's report. And President's report for this meeting is that we're very excited to see our athletics season getting into full swing, and we're looking forward to great things this fall. Strength training has been going on all summer to get our athletes from all of our sports programs stronger and in great shape for their upcoming seasons. Practices for most of our sports haven't even started yet, and already our students athletes have been put in a season's worth of hard work. Our Piscataway High School football team is looking forward to a strong rebound season after 2 years that were severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Their first scrimmage will be next Wednesday, August 17th at West Morris. The rest of our Piscataway High School sports will begin practice Monday, August 22nd. Those include boys and girls soccer, boys and girls cross country, field hockey, gymnastics, girls volleyball, girls tennis, and cheerleading. Our middle school sports will begin practice on Monday, August 29th. They include boys and girls soccer, co-ed cross country, field hockey, girls volleyball, football, and our new middle school cheerleading program. So the best of luck to all of our coaches and student athletes this fall. Next week, our community education program will be wrapping up another successful summer camp program benefiting 430 Piscataway children. The summer was packed with activities for the children, capped off today with a trip to Somerset Patriots baseball game. The children also got to enjoy trips to Sesame Place, the beach at Sandy Hook, and a Best of New York City 2-hour boat ride. That tour highlighted some of the top sites around New York City, including the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, Yankee Stadium, Gracie Mansion, and the city's many bridges. Nice. Closer to home, the children enjoyed cooking activities, bounce houses, canvas painting sessions, where they got to take home pictures they painted of cartoon characters, and summer fun in the Rivercrest pool. Beyond all the activities, the children met new friends from different schools as they memories that will last a lifetime. If I can go back, in the is that I'd like to read a public statement regarding live streaming of board meetings. The Board of Education is now aware that some members of the public wish to live stream board meetings through their own personal electronic devices. The board's current policy 0168 on recording meetings does not recognize a right to broadcast meetings live. However, the matter has been referred to the board's policy and legislative committee for consideration of appropriate ground rules for this practice. In the meanwhile, on advice of the board's legal counsel, effective immediately, members of the public will be permitted to live stream board meetings in accordance with the restrictions for recording meetings explained in board policy 0168 with this request. At least one federal court has observed that live streaming meetings of public bodies raises potential safety concerns due to the prospect of relaying to outsiders in real time the location of entrances and exits, positioning of security personnel, and potential targets and other information valuable to anyone contemplating an attack. For that reason, and pending further recommendations from the Policy and Legislative Committee, the board requests that anyone live streaming its meetings direct their cameras to the dais or the podium if speakers are addressing the board from there. The board thanks the public in advance for its anticipated cooperation. Next, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, thanks, Dr. Connors. Just like our athletes, we're busy in the summer getting ready for what we hope to be a wonderful school year. Our curriculum teams, as you'll see tonight, have been working tirelessly all summer to get prepared. Our administrative leadership meetings took place. We do it on a yearly basis. We had 3 days of planning and reviewing important materials such as safety, curriculum changes, social emotional learning and wellness, as well as expectations for the year. So we feel energized and ready to go and going to utilize these last 2-3 weeks very well. So important information will be sent home about the upcoming school year next week regarding any COVID protocols that will remain or carry over from last year, as well as other things that might be important. District information will come from my office, and then the principals will send a follow-up from their building. So we'll have a principal meeting next week and make sure all the information is sent is consistent with the district protocols. Next on my list is we have decided to have a middle school experience, just like the PHS experience for incoming ninth graders. We're going to have a middle school experience in October for current sixth grade parents. I feel it's really important, and we've heard a lot of information, feedback over the past few years regarding, well, I didn't know this was available, or I'm not sure that my kid understood this, my child understood this. So we are going to hold it October 19th. It's going to be in every building, and the same information is going to be in every middle school building, and the same information is going to be presented there. So we are busy putting together what we feel is the most informative packet to, again, what's available for the curriculum, the National Junior Honor Society, Rutgers Future Scholars if it applies to your family, things like that. So we feel it's important, and if this goes well, we might shift it to a May presentation for current fifth graders, so they have it going into the summer. So we're looking forward to it. It's October 19th, and you'll all get an invitation if you want to go to any of the 3 middle schools. You'll see the same presentation on the same night. And as I mentioned, I want to thank Dr. Baskerville and his curriculum team, as well as all of the teachers who wrote curriculum over the summer. He gave a 51-slide, I understand, presentation at the curriculum committee meeting, and I understand because I was there. I used to sit in your seat, and I did that. And again, kudos to your team. I know how hard they worked to get that together. I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. B. He is going to shorten that considerably from 51 slides to 3 slides. I think 3. And we'll move forward to ask any questions. One important factor, though, he will go over, I put at your tables an information will go home to parents about the new health and PE standards, which involve human sexuality and things like that. Dr. B will go over that document, and again, that information in some form will be sent home to parents so they understand their kind of rights and regulations as far as this goes. So, Dr. B, I'll grab the light, and the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening again to everyone. I promise you it will not be 51 slides in 3 hours. The curriculum committee went through actually 3 hours. We're just going to highlight some of the things that we went through in that particular meeting and some things that we're doing. I put some double asterisk into this document, even though I'm going to just cover something before I get started. And I want to just cover geometry, even though I didn't put a double asterisk there. I just want to say some of the things that we're doing in geometry. It's exciting how we're going to change the way we teach geometry. We're moving it away from a algorithmic or essential information knowledge type thing, and we're moving more into a problem solving where you can use geometry in everyday life. So what we're doing is we have something called a problem solving geometry curriculum that we have written. We're using a new text for that to anchor that, which is called, we're using Larson's text, which is up for approval on tonight. Part of that text will have something called Calc Chat and Calc Review. Calc View. Calc Chat is that the vendor has put into the resource that we're using. We're actually going to be able to have, after hours when students go home, there will be a live tutor that's available for them. That's going to be available through who's been vetted through the actual vendor itself. And we will be able to actually, the students will be able to go on and speak directly to a live tutor after hours with this person who's there if they have any situations going on with the geometry. Also, we have something built into it called CalcView, where we find a lot of students are using YouTube to try to figure out how to actually do things outside. So the vendor has put in what is called a CalcView into the resource itself, where students will be able to go to chapter 2, know how to do a geometric theorem. They will be able to go to chapter 2, click the chapter and the lesson is there, and there are videos there for the teachers and for the students to actually view themselves as well. So we're very excited about that. We're looking at trying to increase the students' understanding and problem solving about geometry. So the way geometry will be taught is that there will be a problem that is positioned at the beginning of every unit, and then students will go into that with that problem in mind and try to figure out how can I use the information that I'm learning to solve that particular problem. For example, how does greenhouse effects climate change and global warming? How, if you have a certain amount of space, how can you actually put together a housing complex on a certain amount of space? What geometric properties you would use. So very interesting there. Pre-calculus, it's a name change from trig analytical geometry to pre-calculus. We're looking at pre-calculus because we want to move students to taking calculus more. So we're looking at, in this, it's an honors class, and they're anchored in 12 functions in calculus, and the thing is to improve the AP calculus grades that we have coming in that particular class. We're also excited about math 6 through 8. We're using Desmos. Teachers have been trained in Desmos this week. The Desmos will be the resource that would anchor them in math 6 through 8. The purpose of math 6 through 8 is one of these goals is to have students interested in advancing in mathematics courses and to see calculus before they graduate. So we're pushing towards calculus at the high school with the math 6 through 8. And to build on and refine previous grade level and review topics that students will be able to see in high school math. So with math 6 through 8, we have, one of the things that we looked at is the articulation of skills and curriculum. So we said if we can just articulate things from 6th grade, we find that many times that a lot of the skills that students are having, that they are, if we scaffold these skills or show these skills early on as they articulate through, that they will have a better chance of achieving mastery. So math 6 through 8, we're looking at struggling learners as well as preview in high school. SAT critical. SAT critical. We've done SAT critical before, but now we have an actual curriculum for SAT critical. We're looking at targeting seniors in the fall and juniors in the spring. SAT critical will essentially cover math and ELA. Even though we did not put an asterisk by engineering 6 through 8, we're a little excited about engineering 6 through 8 because there goes that vertical articulation again. We are looking at mimicking the Project Lead the Way Gateway program at the high school. So what is happening in engineering 6 through 8, as grade 6 and 7, they have design and modeling. In grade 8, they're having automation and robotics. And so we're taking that engineering and we're making it so that when they reach the high school and they go to Project Lead the Way, that they have already been exposed to the things that they will see in Project Lead the Way. 7th grade integrated science. We're in our 2nd year of integrated science. Previously, we had a disciplinary approach to science. In grade 6, we had physical science. Grade 7, we had life science. Grade 8, we had earth science. The problem with that is that if physical science is not your thing, then you're stuck there for an entire year. And then when you go to the high school, you don't see physical science anymore until you actually get to the high school. The same thing with life science and earth science. And so what we did is we moved to what we call an integrated model. Started last year in grade 6, where you have physical, life, and earth science every grade level. That way, we're producing stronger science students when they get to the high school. We're in our 2nd year of that. Next year, we will be fully integrated. And so that it took us 3 years to get that done, but we'll be there on next year. Marine biology is a new course. The students at the high school wanted marine biology. They actually requested this course. Ecology and biology of underwater environments and ecosystems. So a lot of them are excited about marine biology. That is a new course that we will be getting. Freshman seminar was updated. It has evolved. And freshman seminar, some of the things, the important things that we did in freshman seminar is that we focus on life skills and decision making, and that's across the board. Peer tutoring, we put service projects in there. We focus on inclusion, how we can take the SPED students and have them more invested into freshman seminar, and we put social awareness items into the freshman seminar as well. Next slide is that we want to just focus on civics, which is a situation that is mandated. Grade 6 civics is a new course, and as you're well aware, the state gave us some parameters on how to actually do this. Civics, they told us that we either could go for a full year or a half year and implement civics, but we are mandated to implement civics in grade 6. They gave us some way to do this, but if we tried to do this, we wanted to not blow up our current curriculum maps, and the teachers were like, really, we just redid certain things, and so now let's see how we can actually come in and integrate this. So we decided to, state said that we could do it for half a year, so we're gonna do civics exclusively in grade 6 and marking periods 2 and 3. We're using the New Jersey Center for Civics Education. They have a curriculum that they already wrote. So we essentially, it fit well with the current maps that we already have. So we're just introducing that into our current maps, and we're actually using their textbook as well. So we're using the text written by them to include that in civics in grade 6. At the bottom, the Holocaust, Amistad, LGBTQ, AAPI crosswalk. That has been a work in progress. That is something that we're very proud of that. We did it in the order of the state mandates when we were mandated. We were first mandated by the Holocaust, then Amistad, then LGBTQ, now Asian American Pacific Islanders. We were mandated to have AAPI from K to 12. So we've already put it in the curriculum, but here is a quick place to go see exactly where we teach those things. So the crosswalk is a good, quick reference where instead of trying to search and where it is in the curriculum, you can just go right to the crosswalk and it'll show you and tell you where these things are being taught. So we're very proud of that. Language arts literacy, we are changing the way we do ELA in grades 4 through 8. We realized that we had a comprehension situation going on at the high school. When you move to a literature-based curriculum in the high school, there was a comprehension thing taking place. So we say, how can we better affect students having comprehension going to the high school? In grades K to 3, we've had a very discrete workshop model. We've had a reading workshop and writing workshop in the K through 3 environment for at least 12, 13 years. So we're well diverse with that. In that environment, students are learning to read. But we see that going into grade 4, that we can do a change because instead of having readers and writers separate, broken out, the way the schedule basically was had in the K-3 buildings is that you would have 2-3 or 3-2, 2 days of reading workshop, 2 days of writing workshop, and then the following week you would flip it. Going into the intermediate school, we're going to have what we call just literacy workshop, where we are combining ELA, reading and writing into one workshop. A good example, because reason why we're doing it also, not only for comprehension, but at the high school, it is a literature-based curriculum. So they're moving there. So we're looking at moving them in that direction, and you have to read to write, and you have to write to read. So if students are studying something, for example, in reading on social issues, then they can write about something that impacts them in social issues. So we're moving that in the 4 through 8 environment. English 1, English 2, English 3, English 4. Even though these are non-honors classes, these students do not really need remediation in ELA. So what we decided to do is we wanted to challenge them more to make them more, to make it more rigorous. And we will bolster also the opportunities for them to have a proper pathway into honors and AP English if we prop up the rigor in those particular classes. Introduction to business under CTE. It's a survey style class where students will be taught the business career cluster. And so there's something called a business career cluster that's broken down economics and globalization, business and ethics and consumer rights, ownership versus entrepreneurship, government regulation, and business finance. So those things are the focus in that particular class. Marketing rewrite, we rewrote the marketing curriculum because it had personal finance mixed into the marketing curriculum. So we pulled that out, we pulled the personal finance out, and we made it a true marketing class where essentially they will do research and the students have to write, like a capstone, a marketing plan for a business of their particular business. In the digital literacy media, we have Introduction to TV 1, TV 2, Honors TV production. We wanted to highlight those because we have been trying to get this TriCaster for years. The TriCaster is there. We're using the TriCaster in these particular classes. We've moved to industry standards in digital editing and creation, and we have a wonderful, the TriCaster is essentially a TV studio and a computer. So we have moved to industry standards at the high school with those classes. And lastly, I'm going to come back to the K through 12 standards for PE, but I want to just touch on the common threads. Standards alignment, we are totally current with the state's expectations for standards. So now we are totally where we need to be. Technology integration compatible with student devices. We changed our pacing because we learned something during COVID-19, and a lot of times we were focusing more on length than breadth, or sometimes we were focusing more on breadth than length. So we have places. Project-based learning. Our project-based learning is beginning to be something that we're implementing across the board. Interdisciplinary, we want to make sure that not only when you're in one particular genre that you see other. For example, in ELA, you want to see math, you want to see social studies. You just don't want to be stuck because you make those cross connections there. Discrete opportunities for diversity and differentiation. For example, we are doing more than just using diversity text, even though we are continuing to update our classrooms with diverse text. But we're also looking to do traditional things. For example, Horrible Harry has a horrible day. And so we can learn how to teach alliteration by using other texts other than that particular text that have diverse text to do certain things. Improve vertical articulation and course sequencing. Vertical articulation and course sequencing has been something that we have struggled, but we have gotten much better at this. And one of the things that we want to look at is that when you go from one course to the other, you need to have the information that was taught in one class need to be transferred over to the other. So we are scaffolding and moving certain things as we travel through the ranks of the various courses. Resource materials including e-text. So you will see as tonight when we get to the textbook adoption that we are adopting 5 texts. 4 of them are e-text, and only one of them is a hard copy. And alignment with College Board expectations at Piscataway High School.
Dr. B,
Yes, ma'am.
question for you. Great presentation, and thank you for consolidating that. A lot of work has gone into this, and it's great to know that we are aligned with the states, what they're mandating. So many great options for world language. I like how you're connecting all of the dots, and there's a common thread. One of the questions that I had is for the geometry program, where you talk about the vendor offerings for is it CalcChat and CalcView, you said,
Yes.
right? When it comes to the tutoring on CalcChat, do they cross-pollinate, and do those vendors retain, if there are any, issues or sticking points or things that do they communicate and cross-pollinate with the actual Piscataway instructor and provide the feedback from their sessions with the student after hours?
Frank Waleski is having a meeting with them, and I'm going to actually go to the meeting as well. We have a meeting with them on Tuesday because there were a couple of questions that we had about that. The thing that we looked at is that it's another perspective that the vendor will be giving the students, and so. But yes, we are going to. We can set the parameters to that, and some of the parameters would be is that there has to be some information where if we are going to tutoring, because we have multiple layers of tutoring. So if we have a person who is tutoring who's been vetted by the actual publisher themselves, then we don't want that information to just stop between that tutor and the student, but the teacher needs to know, have some kind of idea of what's going on there. So those are the type of logistical things that will be discussed on Tuesday as we meet with the vendors.
Okay, thank you. And then as it relates as the CalcView, where they are taking a look, after hours, is that counted towards kind of like an extra credit, or is that something that would count towards what's considered to be their homework and just their standard lesson
Essentially, what
protocol?
CalcView would do is just a tutorial that they have made with their own people, and it aligns directly to their resource. So, in other words, there is a CalcView for all the lessons. So, if a student has a situation, it's kind of similar to what's done in the lower ranks with the math curriculum. And so, what happened is if a student's having a problem with a geometric theorem or whatever, they can click onto that, and then there's a video that's already been made to help walk them through whatever particular problem they're having with that lesson.
Like a reteach? Almost a
reteach.
reteach.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank
It's
you.
like Think Central for the lower grades.
Very good.
So now we'll turn your attention to a sheet that I put on your tables about the health and PE standards.
one more
Oh, yeah,
question?
sorry, Doctor.
Okay. On the mathematics SAT critical, is there alignment with that with if parents want to sign their children up for like SAT prep classes or courses?
What they did was we took information directly from College Board.
College
And so
Board.
we have what the expectations are, and we have expectations, so we align those expectations, look what's actually on the SAT, align that, is more or less like a preparation and a prep course for that. Juniors and seniors can take it first, of course, in the fall, and the juniors take it in the spring. different now is that we actually have a fixed curriculum for it. So it helps making that curriculum something that has been lifted up directly from those particular assessments themselves. As far as telling parents, should they or should they not sign up for that, that's an option that we can explore, but that's not necessarily the reason why it was put together. We wanted to put some definition, and it's an elective that will be happening. We just wanted some definition to the elective, and we put the course material together.
More interesting for me, I mean, most of us in the room here, grew up at a time where SATs were the standard to get into college. Well, 2 out of my 3 kids, I talk about my kids a lot, but 2 out of my 3 kids didn't even take them, right? And they were accepted to all the colleges they applied to. So I'd be interested to see in the next 4 or 5 years how many students are not taking them if they're not really looking for the Ivy League school or the really competitive school. It's an interesting, that's interesting to look at. So we'll keep an eye on that stuff, how much the numbers go
Also, we're
down.
looking to see if there's a correlation between AP courses, AP courses, and that SAT prep. So how that actually will affect them there as well.
No, my kids are going through, it was a while ago, gosh, almost 20 years, but the, 2-part SAT, and if you went to College Board, you could actually print out the questions yourself.
still have that.
And do it yourself. My question was more about how, would a parent have to spend money to take a prep class, SAT prep class, or would the SAT critical be enough for,
We'll see how it works out. Yeah.
so.
Right, so health and PE standards, 2020, the state comes down with standards that won't be, going into effect till 2022, 23. So they widely went ignored because there were 2 years or 2.5 years before they were about to come into inception. So, fast forward to last April, when the standards are kind of on our doorstep and our porch here, so that we have to put them in place by September. And many, many districts who maybe have some issues with some curriculum, things like that, and the way it's delivered in the districts, were very vocal about not wanting this to be presented the way the standards were presented. So much so in the vocal department that the governor, remanded a new study back to, and then basically put all the onus back on the district. But the standards are still in place. We think, and again, Bill and I have spoken a lot about this over the past 6 months, that he and his team put together a really good approach to the standards, where we meet the standards, but we're also very sensitive to parents needing to teach things, their kids things, certain things themselves. But that's kind of the history of where we are right now. And again, I think the product and our approach through this whole year that's ahead of us is really good, and I want to thank Bill, but I'll have him go over just kind of really quickly our approach, and then what the parents' kind of rights will be to opt out of this.
Thank you, sir. As Dr. Ranelli alluded to, a lot of school districts, they literally tried to implement this last year, and we purposely said that we were not going to touch it. We actually just watched and learned from the mistakes that other people made, and so it served us well. But what we did, and the state came back and what we identified were 2 overarching areas or 2 disciplinary concepts where the problem seemed to be coming from. The disciplinary concept of social and sexual health, it just has the name there, and personal growth and development. So these are the 2 disciplinary concepts that are causing some angst and some confusion and ambiguity across the state. Each disciplinary concept is anchored with a core idea. So the core ideas that fall within these 2 disciplinary concepts. And the core ideas is really where the crux of the matter falls, where we have to actually teach. And we are mandated by the state to address these core ideas. So by grades 2...
Oh, Bill, let me just interrupt real quickly. I want to really point out that the core ideas, the heading of the core ideas and the lesson objectives are how Piscataway interpreted this, right? We were given all these standards that are written a certain way, and this is how, and the reason I'm proud of this is because, our district developed it for our community and what's good for our community.
That makes sense.
So, as Bill goes through this is Piscataway. This is what we determine is best for us.
And thank you, Dr. Miller. And this is the language, and this is the approach in our district. presentation. By the end of grade 2, by the end of grade 5, by the end of grade 8. So these are the grade bands that we have to implement certain things. And our focus essentially will be by the end of grade 8. Every individual has unique skills and qualities. By the end of grade 5, puberty. And by the end of grade 8, healthy decisions. So these are the areas that we will touch by the end of those grade bands. Those are the core ideas. What we did was we actually said we want to put together the exact language that our teachers will be using. And we're going to implement this in May or June of 2023. So toward the end of the school year next year. So at the end of grade 2, you see the disciplinary concept there, social and sexual health. We have it actually written as a learning objective. Students will be able to develop an understanding that every individual has unique skills, qualities, preferences, and perspectives that may impact how they dress, their mannerisms, and activities they enjoy doing, and we must be respectful regarding their individuality. That is the exact language that we will be using in our district, and that is the objective that the teachers will be using. Under personal growth and development, students will be able to explain foundational concepts of healthy habits and anatomy using age-appropriate and medically accurate terms for anatomy and how they work together to support wellness. That is in grade 2. So that is the extent of the lesson objectives that will be taught in one class period, either in May or June of 2023 at the end of our school year next year. At grade 5, personal growth and development, students will be able to examine the physical, social, and emotional changes that occur during puberty, the effects of these changes may have on an individual, and identify trusted adults they can seek assistance from when needed. We wanted to make sure that we emphasize trusted adults because we did not want to put any particular staff members personally or their positions into the actual document itself. We don't want to compromise counselors. We don't want to compromise behaviors. So we said a trusted adult that they could seek, that they feel comfortable seeking assistance from. It could be that parent, or it could be a staff member. And by the end of grade 8, social and sexual health, our students will be able to identify factors that contribute to making healthy decisions and consequences for their choices on their sexual health and overall mental and physical wellness. These are the lesson objectives that we will put forward. Our curriculum will be implemented. We will address the core ideas at the end of each grade band starting in May or June via one lesson. So it will be one lesson taught. We will not be delving into what many have termed as explicit sex education. We will not be doing that. As a result of our curriculum revision update process, parents and students will be given the exact language lesson objectives outlined in this brief regarding what will be taught after the curriculum revisions are approved by the BOE in August. The exact dates and times that these one-period lessons will be taught will be given in advance by the teachers and the schools. So the teachers and schools will give the parents when these lessons are going to be taught. And then the parents will have the right to opt out of these lessons via an established process. So they will know the date, they will know the time, and then they will be able to opt out via an established process that they will be notified by. Our health PE staff will be trained on appropriate language, lesson delivery, and responses to student questions through professional development opportunities throughout the school year. And I think this is like kind of sums it up here because this will be a part of the important to us is that we want to make sure that we respect the rights of all of our students, their voices. That's important to us. So we do not want to devalue anyone, so we want to value all of our students. Know that we will continue to maintain a balance between a correct interpretation and implementation of state requirements and the sentiments of our community regarding parental choices and preferences. Our district recognizes and respects that some families prefer to have certain conversations privately. Pursuant to New Jersey SA 18A:35-4.7, any child whose parent or guardian presents to the school a signed statement that any part of instruction in health, family life education, or sex education is in conflict with his or her conscious or sincerely held moral or religious belief shall be excused from that one portion of the course. This opt-out procedure will be made available to all parents in advance. We think that what we have done is we have covered